Welcome to the 60-Second Classic Show, the only throwback pop culture show hosted by a guy sitting just inches away from an unused Bowflex machine. I'm your host, Mike Camerlengo. Today, it's all about underdogs. And if it feels like there's a lot of underdog stories, it's true. We just love these little rascals. We love that Daniel survives a murder one attempt by a bunch of roided up Cali bros on dirt bikes. Just like we love that a hockey coach with a drinking problem can take a bunch of kids to the championship game and not one parent is like, hey pal, you still boozing? Cause Eureka Zambuca. So why? Why do we always leak a little pre when we see a trailer and some short dudes trying to win a dunk contest? I think it's because we think of ourselves as the underdog. Sure, we're not quite Aaron Brockovich fighting a billion-dollar corporation, but we do have to deal with a boss who says things like, quit taking 90-minute dumps every Friday afternoon, Mike. Sorry, Richard, I have IBS and I'll see your ass in court. We're average Joes. We're B-Rabbit rapping about mom's spaghetti. We're Angus at the dance saying, I don't care what you shitbags are saying about me. I'm rocking a plum suit. Now who wants to grind to Jodeci? Underdog movies, while often predictable, show us that anything is possible. Shout out to KG. He coined that phrase. So let's raise our glasses and toast to those who fight against the odds, who lay it all on the line, who tell the world, I don't care that my teammate is a half-gallon bag of whole milk with an 18-inch vertical. We're winning this game, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, since today is all about underdogs, I figure we should kick it off with a guy who's built like a bag of soggy potatoes trying to play football for one of the best college programs in the country. That's right, I'm talking about that 5'0" loose cannon named Rudy. Now, if you've never seen Rudy, or if you just need a refresher, here is my recap in 60 seconds. Rudy, do it at home, it's fun, Rudy.
Rudy's a little guy who tries really hard on the field and everyone considers him a good shit. He wants to play football at Notre Dame, but unfortunately he's too short and slow and honestly pretty goddamn dumb. And he's like, wait, if I didn't have a chance to get in, why'd I drive all this way in a Greyhound bus that smelled like burnt onions? But Rudy doesn't give up and he gets accepted into a local college where he studies hard, stays in shape, and asks the Lord to tear a defensive end's ACL so he can play. On his last try, Notre Dame accepts Rudy and is like, sure, you can study here, you can get a meal plan, you can smell the jerseys or whatever the fuck you want to do, but you cannot put on shoulder pads because you run a 6'2" 40 and that's like what the Domino's guy runs. So Rudy starts working as a janitor with Rock and doing homework with a tutor. He manages to get himself in the practice squad where he gives 150%, but some guys do not think he is so money. At Christmas, he finds out his brother's dating his girlfriend, who gives him the old, oh man, I thought you fell down a well and died. Did that not happen? Rudy's career is about to come to an end, but coach still won't play him because he doesn't want to be charged with involuntary manslaughter when Rudy's head flies in at the 6th row. The team goes into the office and goes, if this waffle dick ain't playing, well guess what, I ain't playing. Coach picks the worst one from that group and tells him to hit the bricks so Rudy's spleen can explode one last time. Everyone's chanting Rudy's name at the end, so he runs onto the field and makes a sack, and the guy who got benched in his place is like, honestly, I could have done that in like the second quarter, but they're like, shut up, Keith, this isn't about you.
One of the biggest underdogs in TV history is Steve Urkel. Sure, he had brains, good manners, and the uncanny ability to get the babes air thrusting at a rooftop party. But there's no way you'd want him on your basketball team. And that's why you are a fucking idiot. Let's go to the film room and roll the tape on that time Stevie Urks dominated the hardwood. The team's getting their asses handed to them when equipment manager Steve Urkel offers to check into the game and save the day. The coach is like, I'd rather nosedive off the Sears Tower than watch you and your Harry Carey glasses try to set a screen, but sure, why not? Get in there. I'm sleeping in my car anyways, I don't give a shit. He makes an impact immediately by stealing the ball, then pressing the B button on the controller, and oh yeah, it's go time. That's the face of a kid whose parents went out to dinner and a Silk Stockings marathon just started on USA. We're talking 3 straight hours of Coca-Colas and nervous boners. I don't know if number 35 is tired or if he underestimates Urkel's speed, but he appears he's stuck in place. This kind of defense is called the stun gun. It's often played against small children or the elderly. But Urkel isn't either of those and takes the ball handling to the next level where he shows off some aggressive through-the-legs dribbling, a move made popular by washed-up JV athletes looking for a fight outside of Arby's. Number 34 is doing the best he can. He switched over because the first defender had a stroke at the top of the key, but he's in over his head and is implementing the listening to Bon Jovi feet shuffle. This is a desperate measure and is often used by the victim during reenactments on the show Unsolved Mysteries. But Steve doesn't have time for that and hits him with the Urkel step. After a timeout, the other team chucks up a shot that misses the rim by a medium-sized dolphin. These guys are falling apart. They can't handle the fact that a dude with a TI-81 in his back pocket is now dominating. This is now an Urkel mixtape with around-the-back layups, no-look dimes, and half-court alley-oops to motherfucking Eddie Winslow. And you can bet your ass old Stevie's high-stepping like Grandpa Joe when Charlie gave him that +1. On the last play of the game, Urkel takes 3 dribbles on the Foot Locker court and is suddenly in range. All he has to do is get by number 35, who apparently got kicked in the stomach by Ghost Dad, which means Urkel has a clean look at the rim, and folks, you know that's going in. Game. Suspenders. And now it's time for my favorite thing. This is a segment where I'm going to talk about things that I really enjoy. And something I love from Underdog movies is when the coaches give a speech to like pump people up, but they're actually just like really shitting on them. They're reminding them how bad their life sucks. They'll be like, all right, William's pitching today. All right, we all know William comes from a broken home. He's short. He's slow. He's got Jimmy Dean sausage fingers. Kid's got acne. He's got back knee. He's got sack knee. He's got it all. All right, if we played 50 games, this motherfucker would get his ass kicked 49 games. But you only need one. You only need to win once. Again, this kid has no friends. His best friend is a squirrel. It lives in his backyard, I know. All right, he's also got a micro penis. We've all seen it. Kid's got a micro penis. I thought it was a Q-tip. But no, somebody was like, no, he's got a thermometer dink. You know, you can do it though. We believe in you. You only have to throw a few curveballs today. Because again, your life is terrible and your bones are weak and your knees are inverted and you're never going to have sex. You're never going to get married. You're never going to have children. But you can get this W for us today. Now let's go. You know, something like that. What's not to love? And now the story of an unlikely karate champion. Daniel LaRusso moves from Jersey to California and thinks he's gonna crush it when a roided up Zach Morris lookalike hits him with a welcome to the OC, bitch. Daniel doesn't care and shows off some dope ass knee juggling, which in the 1980s was code for my mom's out of town on Saturday. You wanna do sex? Johnny and his crew don't like that and use their dirt bikes to drive Danny Boy off a cliff to his likely death. But he survives, and at the Halloween dance he gets back at Skeleton Johnny by spraying water on him as he's doing the old get high, pinch a loaf. The boys are about to uppercut Daniel into heaven when the neighborhood repairman pops out of nowhere and is like, I don't care if I'm gonna be on the local news. I'll work a bunch of 17-year-olds right now. They figure out a truce and decide to settle things like gentlemen at a sanctioned karate tournament by the strip mall. So Mr. Miyagi teaches Daniel the good shit by making him paint a fence, wash his car, and pretend he's in the opening credits to a Cinemax flick called The Boy Down the Street. At the tournament, the Cobra Kai shitbags decide to cheap shot Daniel, and we get lots of great tight shots of a dude who is 100% banned from Bennigan's. Daniel gets hurt and may have to forfeit when he asks Miyagi to use his special healing hands. And Miyagi's like, okay dude, but this is on the record, right? I don't want to see anything in the papers about weird touching. I was already on Channel 4 for crushing that kid's voice box, and I'm getting a bad rap. So he does it, and Daniel hits Johnny with a crane kick to the face, and that dude's like, hey man, sorry for all the attempted murders. It's hard to move cross country. You deserve happiness. Now, sometimes an underdog puts on a legendary performance, but sometimes they remind the world why they were counted out in the first place, and nobody brought people back to earth faster than Carlton Banks tossing up a half-court air ball. I know you know what I'm talking about. It's stuck in our brains. Which brings us to a segment called In Defense Of.
Are you sure?
In defense of Carlton, dude had an open look. Sure, he was technically standing at half court, but the court was the size of a postage stamp. He thought he could go Vlad Guerrero from the warning track, and for a second, I believed him. Yeah, he stole the ball right out of his teammates' hands. You know, you shouldn't do that. But still, he was here long before Big Willie style rolled into town. Carlton saw an opportunity, and I respect that. We always love an underdog who succeeds, but what about an underdog who falls on his face? An underdog that says, look, I've never seen a bra. I remind the teacher that they didn't assign the homework. And if we're being honest, I was breastfed until I was 9. Now feed me the rock. I'm a volume shooter, motherfucker. Carlton, you went for it? Respect, my friend. Respect. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Mike, you clearly fell down a flight of stairs when you were 5 and knocked some things around in your brain. You have it all figured out. Who is the greatest underdog of all time? Well, a lot of good options, okay? But like the judges of a belly flop contest would tell you, it's all very subjective. But if you're asking me, if you're asking this noggin, it's not a basketball player, it's not a boxer, it's not a fighter pilot. It's a little wee lad from the Midwest who makes the dopest mac and cheese around, but doesn't want to eat any because he's got shit to do. Roll the tape.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
When we think of an underdog, we often think of an unlikely sports hero. Someone who made the game-winning play even though they just took a dump on the 50-yard line. But what if I told you that not all underdogs wore a uniform, and that the greatest underdog performance of all time wasn't a guy with advanced CTE defeating a Russian cyborg, but instead an 8-year-old kid from Chicago? Kevin McCallister got the short end of the stick. He was denied pizza, terrorized by his older brother, and that shitbag of an uncle basically told him he didn't care if he showed up in the runaway train video. It's not simply that his family made him sleep in a carbon monoxide-filled attic that made him an underdog. It's that he was left all by himself to do battle with the wet bandits, two oddly shaped criminals who wanted nothing more than to stuff Kevin headfirst into a wood chipper. But little Kev wasn't having it and unleashed a house of horrors that showed why he was truly the good son. This was 1990, so there weren't any Reddit threads titled how to erase someone's brain with an iron. You couldn't YouTube what's the easiest way to crack a man's femur in half. His 8-year-old ass was on his own. And when I was 8, there's no way I was fighting off two dudes who had over 500 at-bats in a prison softball league. Harry and Marv doubled down, of course, because they couldn't believe a kid who weighed as much as a large pumpkin was kicking their dicks in. But Kevin didn't budge. He said, hey, how about I launch a couple of Benjamin Moore paint cans right off your grill piece? Now, the haters would say Kevin didn't do it alone, that a guy who had a freezer in his basement labeled human thigh bones came over and Sammy Sosa'd the boys into the ICU. But that doesn't take away from this underdog story. For 3 days, Kevin took the fight to the enemy. He said, you may be stronger than me, you may outnumber me, but you don't have what's inside this chest. A heart of a champion that says, I'm willing to spend the rest of my childhood in a juvenile detention center for lighting your skull on fire. It's important to remember things didn't have to work out this way. In fact, it's a miracle there's not a Kevin McCallister Don't Leave Your Kid at Home to Go to Paris memorial fundraiser every year. It's a miracle Buzz didn't live with crushing guilt because his last words to his brother were, eat shit, needle dick. It's a miracle Mrs. McCallister didn't go off the deep end and drink so much white Zinfandel that she ended up selling used pantyhose outside of Bulls games. Because one kid beat the odds. One kid said, I may die someday. But that day will involve a handle of spiced rum, a pack of marshmallows, and an unauthorized jet ski on Lake Michigan. And that day, my friends, is not today.
You guys give up or you're thirsty for more?
All right, that brings us to the end of the 60-Second Classic Show. Thank you for watching. And I just want to give you a reminder, you will never learn anything useful from this show, but hopefully it occupies that weird part of your brain that has like House Hunters shit and John Taffer screaming at a bar owner for serving undercooked chicken. That's the sweet spot. That's what I'm going for. And hopefully that's what you're going for. Enjoy. Enjoy what? What a fucking stupid way to end. Can we just like roll a credit or something?